Hi everybody. Hello everyone. Today we are going to be discussing about tables in Microsoft Word in today's session. So how to insert tables in Microsoft Word is our primary focus for today. First of all, our agenda for today, as we know, we always have a list of things we have to do for that particular day. We're going to be looking at what are tables, how to insert tables, adding text on a table, and much more. So let's begin. What is a table? A table in Microsoft Word is simply a grid made up of cells where each cell is the intersection of a row and a column. Tables help organize text, numbers, and other content in a clear, easy to read format. So, if you've ever worked with tables before, you would understand that this is the easiest way to represent data such that someone can easily be able to understand exactly what the data looks like. There are different parts of a table that we're going to see. For example, there is the row, okay, which is the horizontal line of cells. Then there is the column, which is the vertical line of cells. Then there are cells, which is small boxes, intersections of rows and columns. Then we have the table grid itself, which is the outline that forms the structure of the table itself. So in what kind of documents can we actually use this particular feature? We can use this particular feature when we're dealing with maybe timetables for those who are secretaries in schools. We can talk about creating a price list for a business, a restaurant, or any kind of business. We can talk about developing attendance sheets, all right, for students in schools or establishments. We can talk about using tables to create forms and registration templates, content comparison, financial records, layout designs, and much more. So at this particular juncture, we're going to dive straight to how to be able to insert a table in Microsoft Word. So first and foremost, your Microsoft Word should be open. I'm sure we already know how to do this, how to launch the application and get to this work screen here. So to insert a table in Microsoft Word, you're going to click on the Insert tab on the ribbon. Once you click on the Insert tab, it opens to the Insert menu where we have Pages Group, Tables, Illustration, Media, and so on. So our primary focus is in this particular group, right? So you click on the drop down and it opens to a menu. Now, there are many ways of inserting tables in Microsoft Word. We can use these automatic cells to insert tables. You see, as I'm moving my mouse pointer, it is automatically giving us a preview. And if we check directly up here where you have this insert table, when I start moving towards the cells, we'll see a value there. For example, at this moment, it is 3 times 2 table. That X in the middle is read as by. So we read it as 3 by 2 table. The first value stands for the number of columns and the second value stands for the number of rows. Okay, so a 3 by 2 table will simply mean a 3 columns by 2 rows table. Are we there? So if I get to a point, if I wanted to insert a 5 by 5 table, this way I am. Once I get here, I just click and the table automatically inserts on my document. Let's use the second method. I can undo this by taking Ctrl Z to undo my work. So if we move to the Insert tab for the second method and we use click the Tables command, it opens to the Tables menu. All right. Then we choose Insert Table. This Insert Table command will open us to the Insert Table dialog box. There, we are the ones to you're the one to determine the number of rows and columns you want on your table. For example, I want a 10 columns by maybe 8 rows table. Okay. Once I type the number of columns and number of rows I want, I click OK, and the table automatically inserts in my document. This is the second method. I undo again, Ctrl Z, and we take the third method. The third way of inserting a table is still going through the Insert tab, the Tables command, and then we can use the Draw Table command. The Draw Table command permits you to be able to draw the table yourself. Once we click on the Draw Table command, our mouse pointer changes to a pencil-like structure. First, you click and drag to have the outline of the table, right? Then we can go ahead and click and drag to separate the table into different rows or into the different number of rows and columns that we need. Okay. Oh, excuse me for this. We click and you stretch. Are we there? Click up here and stretch to break the table into two. Then we can do same for the rows like this. Good. And then our table is ready. So this is the second way of inserting a table. Once we are done drawing, on the table layout on the draw group, we deactivate the draw table command. All right. And this is our table. Are we good? So this is the third method of inserting a table. So let me delete this other table and we take the next method. Okay. The next method of designing tables in Microsoft Word is still through the Insert tab. Clicking the Insert tab opens the table icon where we click and then we can use the Excel spreadsheet to import a table, or you can do quick tables. Quick tables are already designed tables that we can automatically insert on our work. Okay, so clicking on any of these quick tables, it works perfectly for calendars and all of that. So if I click on the table, it automatically appears on my file. So this is basically how to be able to insert tables in Microsoft Word. So I've undone my work. I go back to insert and I do a simple 4 by 3 or 3 by 4 table. And this is it. So that is how to be able to insert a table. And if you insert a table and you want to add content on your table, we can do that straight away. If you look closely on my table, you find out that there is a cursor that is blinking on the page. All right, that cursor indicates the active cell. So these are 3 columns by 4 rows table. And if I want to type anything on the table cells, I click on it to type. Once I click on it, I can be able to type, for example, here I have names of students. I can use the tab key to move to the next column. All right, names of students may be biology max. Tap again. Then we have chemistry max. These are our table headers. So we can have as names of students, I don't know what you're going to put there, but for the names of students, I can have H Joyce, H Joyce. I can use the down arrow key to move to the next cell down the same column, right? Then we have Tani Glory. Let me use my name. And then the last we have Linda Leverina. Okay, those are the 3 names we're going to use for this data, all right? Then for the biology marks, we can click and type. Maybe this lady had 12 in biology. The other one had 20. I'm supposed to pass all. Then we have 15. Then for chemistry, we can give them maybe 23. We can give them 45. We can give them 3 in that sense. All right. This is basically how to be able to input text on your table by simply clicking and typing, using the arrow keys to move from one table cell to another. This is my table cell here. I can move up by using the up arrow key, go to the left by using the left arrow key, and so on. Okay, excuse me. That is basically how to insert text on our table. So the next thing we're going to learn how to do is how to be able to add and delete columns. All right. Now, if I want to add or maybe add columns or rows within the same table, I am going to be using the table layout tab. Click on the tables layout tab opens to a window or a line of commands there. In the groups, we have table, draw group, rows and columns, merge cells, cell size, and so on. So on the rows and columns group, we have 4 different commands that we can use to insert our columns and rows. So if I want to insert now, it is dependent on where my cursor is. Remember, my cursor is here on the first column and on the first row. So if I click insert above, it is going to insert one row above the row that carries the cursor. So if I click on it, it adds one extra row above the active row. The active row is the row that carries the column, the cursor or the insertion point at the moment. Okay. Now, if my cursor is in this names of students cell, It means my cursor is in the first column. If I go to the rows and columns group and I click insert below, it is going to insert one row beneath the active row. Okay, the same thing goes to insert column left. Now, column left and right here is dependent on the active cell. Are we there? So if my cursor is found in this particular column, which is the first column, and I click insert left, it is going to insert one extra column to the left of the cursor. So if I click this one, it adds one column to the left. All right. And if I was still there and I click insert right, you see it inserts one extra column to the right of the active row or the active column. All right, that's basically how to be able to and add rows and columns within a table. Also, we can learn about splitting or merging this merge cells, split cells, and split table. But I'm going to simply show you how to be able to use the merge cells command. The merge cells command is used to combine two or more cells together, okay, to form one large and long cell. So if I want to have a heading for this table, or maybe I should undo this. Good. Now, if I want to give this table a heading, okay, I can merge this first row that I already added and then make it a table header. For example, before I merge, the first thing I do is I need to select at least two cells. So if I take my mouse pointer a little bit out of this table and I click on it, it selects the entire row. If I click on merge cells in the table layout tab, merge group, merge cells, okay? I click on merge cells. It combines all the three cells on this first row to produce one. So with that, I can be able to type maybe upper safe students marks in that sense. And just like every other normal text, I can click and drag to select it. On the home tab, I can bold my text, I can put it at the center, I can add color to it, I can manipulate it just like every other basic text. So this is exactly how we can be able to insert tables, how we can be able to manipulate the tables, how we can be able to add text on the table. Beyond this, we can learn about the table design tools, wherein we can switch from one table design to another. If we click on this table styles more button here, it's going to open to a whole lot of table styles. Clicking any of these, right, applies a different style to our table. So there are a whole lot of features that comes with being able to manipulate and work with tables, and I think at this moment we can practice this. I'm going to press this video for us to practice how to insert tables, how to be able to add text on the table, how to be able to add columns and rows on the table, and of course, how to be able to probably change the table styles. So thank you very much for joining us in today's session. And please do not forget to subscribe, like, and of course, share the contents of this video to your friends and to your family so they can equally learn. Thank you very much, and it was a pleasure being with you. Thank you.